often comes with punishment. JJ.
Inhale, control it down.
Penalty! Are you joking? Oh my god, yeah! Let's give a penalty! Great idea!
If you guys are interested in making more points on FC25, do check out my VIP training Discord. I brought it back for FC25. Description is little as £6 every month. You're getting over 90 photos in the month, which I think is good value for money. So check it out, even if it's for a month. You can join the free side of the Discord as well if you'd like. There'll be a link in the top line of the description. Anyway, enjoy the video.
No, look at the speed of him though. He doesn't save! Oh, dare you use this gun! He made a save! No. How the fuck? Rodri! Oh, you slow. I'm 30 pace. Slow prick, get away!
Okay, the networks are down, the equipment is ready, and we've crippled their supplies. Mrs. Rackman has written our check and given us the green light. We're good to finally move on that submarine and stop this threat once and for all. When you're ready, get your crew together and head back to planning.
Stu? 105th minute? What is going on? What? 105th minute? What is going on? What? The game's finished. What the hell? Every bounce because he got a red card, man. Look at this shit. Bounce again. I moved my keeper in that corner too. Oh my god. Oh my god, what is that pass? No way! What the?
You gotta crank it up.
Traffic accidents are not only a human story, but also seriously affect animals. Creatures that are not aware of the dangers of the streets. With wild instincts, they often appear suddenly, leaving drivers unable to react, leading to heartbreaking collisions. In today's video, we will take you through terrifying moments when animals face cars on the road, captured realistically through a camera lens. Don't forget to click subscribe so we can continue to send you great content like this. When you drive safer, let's get started. Which party will be at fault in this accident? The car took off like a rocket. notice anything unusual. Wait a second. He's finally realized his wife is missing. A surprising situation after a collision with a loose situation. Suddenly a cow rushed up from the bottom of the slope. Before the car could react, the cow was hit and thrown out. In the state of Maine, collisions of damages is not specified. Looking at the condition of the damaged car is enough to see the severity of the incident. A Ducati Monster 696 hit a deer while traveling at 50 miles per hour. What do you think the repair cost will be? Did the driver fail to see the bear, or did the bear fail to see the driver? The incident in Colorado has highlighted the importance of constructing barriers to protect wildlife from wandering onto roads, thereby preventing potentially serious accidents. During a breathtaking supercar race, an unexpected incident stunned the entire audience. A wild deer suddenly rushed straight into the racer's accelerating car. The horrifying moment was completely recorded by the dash cam from the car behind, when everything shot into the air like an explosion, leaving an unforgettable mark for the driver. This collision reached a speed of nearly 200 kilometers per hour. With experience, the racer handled the strong stab, right? It's freaking out, scrambling to find a way out. Animals on the road. Although they are very fast and powerful, encountering them on the road is a magnificent sight, but also full of risks. When bison appears, all vehicles must stop, reminding us of the harmony between nature and modern life. While they can test a driver's patience, they are also symbols of the wild and unexpected beauty of nature. This buffalo wants to test its horns. Unlucky day for car owners. Please comment number 8 if you were still watching this. Thank you. Free roaming dogs are still common in rural areas of poor countries. And they are always a potential traffic safety hazard. Luckily, the family of 3 motorcyclists were unharmed. The car was moving at high speed and the weather was heavy rain. Suddenly, a deer fell from the sky. After a strong impact, the front of the car caught fire. He waited 2 hours for the rescue team to rescue him. Kangaroos are also a headache for drivers in Australia. They are always lurking, waiting for an opportunity to jump straight into the front of the car. Damages for each such incident are $5,000.
This holiday, Verizon will turn your old or broken phone into a gift. Trade in any phone in any condition and get Google Pixel 9 Pro with Gemini, an AI assistant from Google. Plus watch and tap, all 3 on us. Survive the holidays with Google, powered by Verizon.
That driver. Is this driver crazy? Now comes the prequel to this episode. Remember to subscribe to the channel to support us, guys. Train accidents not only affect humans, but also have serious consequences for animals, creatures who lack awareness like we do. With their massive speed and weight, trains cannot stop suddenly, leading to many unfortunate collisions. This video captures some of the most common accidents known, terrifying moments of animals being struck by trains, all recorded through the camera lens. Don't forget to subscribe to Farmers 4.0 so we can continue bringing you videos like this. Let's get started. From afar, the train blew its whistle to signal the cow to cross the tracks faster, but it doesn't consider it a danger signal. So the result will happen like this. And even this. However, I was surprised by the scene of people accidentally walking past the camera lens in this video. It's really impressive. Don't they prohibit people from walking under the tracks? In another instance, a bird flying low to the ground met a tragic fate as the train rushed toward it at high speed, feathers scattering in the air. Farewell, little bird. A snake decided to cross the tracks, disregarding the massive train approaching. Its head struck the train's wheel and writhed on the track. Such collisions happen frequently as many train tracks run through the natural habitats of animals, increasing the risk of accidents. Animals cannot recognize trains as a threat. The large size, high speed, and loud engine noise prevent them from staying clear. Obstacles like fences or walls along the tracks also limit their ability to move away, raising the risk of collisions. Bears are among the smartest animals. In one instance, a mother bear and her 2 cubs attempted to leave the tracks after hearing a warning from the conductor. Sadly, the mother bear did not escape in time. Poor baby bears. In South Asia, cows frequently fall victim to train accidents. Transportation agencies and conservation organizations have made numerous efforts to address this issue, hoping to find effective solutions to reduce these heartbreaking incidents.
his kayak to compare hundreds of travel sites at once. I like to do things myself. I can't trust anything else to do the job right.
Kayak. Search one and done.
Ever wonder what happens when wild animals decide they've had enough of our antics? We're about to explore 5 chilling tales that may make you seriously reconsider taunting caged animals. From thrill seekers chasing viral fame to tourists acting a bit too silly when they should know better, these stories expose the startling consequences of underestimating Mother Nature. Do you think snapping a risky selfie is worth the likes? These people found out the hard way. It's all fun and games until their annoyed photo partner decides to rewrite the script. Why did a woman think polar bears make for great swimming companions? Why did a lion turn on a very man who raised them? And how did an alligator transform a kid's birthday party? It's like a shit show down there. Clear the airstrip before you think about taking that bird into the sky. The plane gets shot up, we're back to Alpha. Hey, man, tough demands of a video creator. Thankfully, you have the ability to use your perfect co-pilot and personal sidekick. And now with Infor AI's version of the you can choose the ability to create videos, putting you in the driver's seat. Where are you gonna go? Argo's cell phones are going loco, people. Expect more of them any second now. Just remember, the mission is the plane. Pika and Runway do. With just a simple text prompt, you can generate entire videos with scripts and voiceovers. It removes all friction and makes the process so intuitive and fluid that it disappears, letting users focus entirely on their vision and their idea. So, I nerded out and asked him to make a Lego mashup with Breaking Bad. The results blew me away. Today, class, we're going to learn about chemistry. Yo, Mr. White. This is amazing. You can also edit anything you like adding your own voice. From short films and product videos to educational content, the possibilities for in-video AI are truly endless. You can try in-video AI for free, but if you want to use its generative capabilities, I highly traffic's telling me you're airborne. Bring it to the airport and you're done. The rest of the team's going to clean up the Vagos. If you're already an in-video task force better send us a thank you for this. Even more Vagos coming at you. Pilot, come in. Is there any cargo on the plane? Drugs, guns, wild animals? I guess if you're flying, you haven't been charged by a cooked-up crash of rhinos. You know, last week 3 customs officers died from spider bites after opening a Mariposa Grande shipment of untaxed Coca-Cola. What lesson can you take from this? It ain't the size of the dog in the fight, it's the amount and toxicity of the venom in the dog's sack. Unless the dog is really epic big, then screw it anyway. So, waded through a
look out for
thorny hedge
creepy
and scaled
crawlies,
a
and
nearly
any
10-foot
drugs on
high
that
wall
plane
to
belong
reach
to
the
me.
enclosure.
Man,
It was
I love
feeding
selling
time
drugs.
when
I
polar
am a
bears are
criminal
most
after
alone,
all.
and frankly,
My team's waiting at LSIA.
as she
Can we
plunged
hurry
into
this
the
up,
moat that
please?
separated the polar
We need to
bears
clean
from
this
the
up
public,
quick, so
they
leave the
took
area as soon as
immediate
you've handed
notice.
over the
One
plane.
approached her with a curious yet predatory gaze. Within seconds, curiosity turned into aggression. The bear lunged, sinking its powerful jaws into her back and arms. Panicked spectators watched in horror, some capturing the ordeal on camera. Zoo staff reacted swiftly. They threw life buoys and extended ladders to distract the bear. Some even
Ground
used
team did
sticks to
well.
fend it off.
I don't expect any more
After several
Vagos
tense
activity in
minutes,
that part
they
of the
managed to
state
pull
for
the
a
woman
day.
to safety.
6 hours
She suffered
minimum.
severe
The sooner you touch
lacerations
down
and
at
bite wounds, but
LSIA, the happier
miraculously
everyone
survived.
will be.
Medical experts later stated that if she had remained in the enclosure any longer, the outcome could have been fatal. Polar bears are the largest land carnivores on Earth, with males weighing up to 1,500 pounds and standing over 10 feet tall when on their hind legs. They have a bite force of about 1,200 pounds per square inch, strong enough to crush the skull of a walrus. Their paws, nearly 12 inches wide, help them swim and also deliver deadly blows. From 1870 to 2014, there have been 73 recorded polar bear attacks on humans, 20 of them fatal. These apex predators are highly adapted to Arctic life, but climate change is threatening their existence by reducing sea ice. They rely on ice for hunting seals, their primary food source. Zoos play a crucial role in conservation efforts, providing safe environments for breeding programs and educating the public about these magnificent creatures. space, it not only endangers us, but can also lead to harmful consequences for the animals. Stressful interactions can cause behavioral issues and may force zoos to make difficult decisions regarding the animal's future. Here's a survival tip for you. Never, and I mean never, climb over barriers at a zoo. They're there for a reason, to protect you and the animals. Animals in captivity act on instinct, not emotion. Better stick to the kiddie pool next time.
Good job. Take care of this.
Sometimes even highly trained wild animals turn on their owners. And in Mike Hodge's case, it was a risk he was willing to take. Mike Hodge, a British wildlife park owner, had spent years caring for lions, believing he shared an unbreakable bond with them. In 2018, that belief was tragically tested. One morning, Mike noticed a strange odor near the lion enclosures, a smell that could potentially distress the animals. Concerned, he decided to investigate. Entering the enclosure alone, he thought he could quickly resolve the issue. Shamba, a 10-year-old male lion weighing over 550 pounds, sensed something was off. Lions have an acute sense of smell, and unfamiliar scents can trigger territorial or defensive reactions. As Mike turned his back to Shamba, the lion saw an opportunity. In a heartbeat, Shamba charged, leaping onto Mike and grabbing him by the neck. The powerful predator dragged him toward the bushes, his jaws exerting a bite force of around 650 pounds per square inch. Onlookers screamed in terror, some capturing the horrifying scene on video. It took staff members firing several warning shots into the air before Shamba was startled enough to release Mike. He was rushed to the hospital with severe injuries, including fractures and deep lacerations, but he survived after multiple surgeries. Tragically, Shamba was euthanized following the incident, sparking debates about animal welfare and human responsibility. So what made the lion snap? Experts suggest that the unfamiliar smell and Mike's turn back, a sign of vulnerability, triggered Shamba's natural predatory instincts. Even lions raised in captivity retain their natural behaviors. Lions are majestic creatures, commonly referred to as the king of beasts. They can run at speeds up to 50 miles per hour in short bursts and have retractable claws up to 1.5 inches long. Their roars can be heard up to 5 miles away. Every year, approximately 250 people are killed by lions. Lions are classified as vulnerable due to habitat loss and conflicts with humans. Wildlife reserves aim to protect them, but incidents like this highlight the complexities of human-animal interactions. Here's a survival tip. Never enter a big cat enclosure alone and unarmed. Always follow safety protocols. Be aware of the animal's body language. Remember, they are not pets. Pat a lion on the head? No thanks. My house cat already thinks he's the boss. If you want to learn more about wildcats, check out our other video where we rank some of the deadliest kitties in the world. And be sure to like and subscribe for more amazing survival stories. In the autumn of 2017, a routine day at the Kaliningrad Zoo in Russia turned into a fight for survival for one unsuspecting zookeeper. The experienced keeper entered the tiger enclosure to deliver food, believing Typhoon, a male Siberian tiger, was secured in his holding pen. Due either to miscommunication or oversight, Typhoon was still in the enclosure. Within moments, the 450-pound tiger spotted her. Before she could react, he pounced, knocking her to the ground with a force that could shatter bones. Visitors watched in sheer terror, but instead of standing by, they acted heroically. They shouted, clapped, and threw anything they could find, including stones, branches, even a table to distract Typhoon. The commotion confused him, momentarily breaking his focus and allowing the keeper to escape into a safe area. She suffered multiple injuries, including deep bite wounds and scratches, but thankfully survived after receiving immediate medical attention. An investigation revealed that she had failed to follow the standard protocol to ensure a gate was securely locked. A simple, yet critical mistake with nearly fatal consequences. Siberian tigers are the largest big cats, capable of reaching lengths up to 10.5 feet and weighing over 700 pounds. They can leap distances of up to 20 feet and have night vision 6 times better than humans. There are fewer than 500 Siberian tigers left in the wild, making them critically endangered. Habitat loss due to deforestation and poaching for their fur and body parts are their biggest threat. Incidents like this highlight the importance of strict safety protocols to protect both humans and animals. If you find yourself between a tiger and a hard place, here's a survival tip. Distraction can be a lifesaver. In the rare event of a big cat attack, loud noises and sudden movements may divert the animal's attention, but the best strategy is prevention. Always follow the zoo's safety guidelines. Now, it's easy to be forgetful from time to time, but if you're responsible for feeding a tiger and forget to lock the door, well, that's just asking for trouble. That's a door you double check, triple check, or even get someone else to check. Now, where did I put my phone? The pursuit of the perfect selfie can lead people to do outrageous things. But in 2019, one woman's quest for likes nearly cost her everything. Visiting the Wildlife World Zoo in Arizona, she spotted a black jaguar resting near the edge of its enclosure, a prime photo opportunity. Ignoring the clear warning signs and a 3-foot barrier designed to keep guests at a safe distance, she stepped over to get closer. As she turned her back to the enclosure for the selfie, the jaguar saw the intrusion as a threat. In a split second, it reached through the metal fencing with its powerful paw, claws extended, and grabbed her arm. Her screams echoed through the zoo. Nearby visitors rushed to help. One man distracted the jaguar by pushing a water bottle through the fence, causing it to release its grip. They pulled her away, her arm covered with deep gashes that would require stitches, but were not life-threatening. The woman later returned to the zoo to apologize, acknowledging her mistake. The zoo confirmed that the jaguar would not be euthanized, emphasizing that the animal was not at fault.
The jaguar will not be euthanized. We do not hold the jaguar responsible for what happened.
Jaguars are the largest cats in the Americas, weighing up to 250 pounds. They have a powerful bite capable of piercing turtle shells and crushing skulls. Their jaws exert a force of around 1,500 pounds per square inch. Unfortunately, jaguars are classified as near threatened due to habitat loss and poaching. Here's a survival tip, and this one should be obvious. Respect the zoo's boundaries. Barriers are there to protect everyone. No photo is worth endangering yourself or causing stress to an animal. Mess around and find out. That jaguar did not care about your follower count. And next time, maybe use the zoom feature. And now for our final story. If you're planning your kid's birthday and you're thinking of bringing a cold-blooded predator to the party, consider yourself warned.
Round up spare change into saving stocks of Bitcoin, and you use your Cash App card.
Give me 17 cents on Bitcoin.
Imagine a child's birthday party with all the trimmings, balloons, cake, and an alligator? At Scales and Tails, Utah, that's part of the attraction. But in August 2021, this celebration took an unexpected turn. Handler Lindsay Bull was demonstrating how to feed an 8-foot, 150-pound alligator named Darth Gator. All seemed routine until the alligator clamped down on her hand and initiated a death roll. The lever used to set her ground. In an instant, Lindsay was pulled into the tank, her arm twisted and trapped in the alligator's jaws. Parents and children watched in horror. Some recorded the incident. Without hesitation, Donnie Wiseman, a guest at the party, leaped into action. Climbing onto the alligator's back, he applied pressure and attempted to immobilize him. Lindsay, keeping remarkably calm, instructed him on how to help her escape. After a tense struggle, she managed to free her hand and was pulled to safety. A few moments later, Donnie was able to jump off the gator's back and scramble out of the tank with only a few scratches. Lindsay sustained injuries that included multiple fractures and a severed tendon, but later expressed gratitude toward Donnie.
Even with a lot of training, it takes a lot of courage to get in there and do that, and I mean, he did not hestate.
And even affection for Darth Gator. pounds and grow over 13 feet long. They have a bite force of nearly 3,000 pounds per square inch, one of the strongest in the animal kingdom. Their powerful tails can propel them up to 20 miles per hour in the water. Despite their fearsome reputation, deadly alligator attacks on humans are rare. From 1948 to 2021, there have only been 26 fatal attacks in the U.S. Most of them happen in Florida. We did a whole episode about the dangers of the Sunshine State, so check that out before you plan your next vacation. Survival tip: if you ever find yourself in an alligator's grip, fight back by targeting sensitive areas like the eyes and snout. If you witness an attack, only intervene if it's safe and you have some knowledge of how to handle the situation. An alligator at a kid's party? That's one party favor I'd rather skip. Skip magicians and grenades, maybe? These stories serve as powerful reminders of the respect and caution we must exercise around wild animals. Whether behind zoo enclosures or in their natural habitats, these creatures are governed by instincts honed over millions of years. Our interactions can have unintended consequences, not just for us, but for the animals as well. Stress, behavioral changes, and even euthanasia can result from incidences caused by human negligence. Perhaps it's time we rethink how we engage with animals like the ones we feature today. Admiration doesn't require intrusion. Education shouldn't mean a danger. Remember, when we ignore the laws of nature, we're not just putting ourselves at risk, we're jeopardizing the very creatures we aim to protect. Stay curious, stay safe, and always respect the wild. And speaking of the wild, you found this episode eye-opening, you won't want to miss our in-depth video about the Dawn Brancho tragedy. It's a haunting tale of an orca held in captivity that turned on its trainer. If you're looking to stay alive, keep watching How to Survive. Leader of the Crips gang, Stanley Tookie Williams.
Convicted quadruple murderer Stanley Tookie Williams.
Everyone thinks it's a breakout gone wrong. They're looking in the wrong place. Bring the transport to the junkyard outside Sandy Shores. One of my people will look after it till we go in.
Look at my kingdom now. This place does not make you a man. Look at... In the stillness of a prison cell, a Nobel Peace Prize nominee waited for his last hours to pass. Stanley Tookie Williams, once a field leader and pivotal figure in the formation of the Crips gang, now found his name alongside Desmond Tutu, the Dalai Lama, and Mother Teresa. He had spent years behind bars, turning his life around, writing books for kids, and speaking out against gang violence. But on this day, as midnight approached, even the hope he inspired couldn't change what was coming next. It was 1979 when against gang violence. But on this day, as midnight approached, even the hope he inspired couldn't change what was coming next. It was 1979 when Williams, high on PCP and with 3 friends, went on a violent spree. At a 7-Eleven, he forced 26-year-old Albert Owens to his knees and shot him in the back, later mocking the noises Owens made as he died. Just days later, Williams struck again, taking the lives of an immigrant Chinese couple and their 41-year-old daughter, while stealing less than $100 cash in a brutal motel robbery. Now, after years on death row, Williams' time had finally run out. The morning started like any other, oatmeal and milk for breakfast. On death row, there's no special treatment. Your last day is like any other, just as death treats everyone the same. At around 1, his legal team pressed forward, presenting every piece of evidence they could to sway the decision, underscoring Stanley Williams' efforts to deter young people from gang life. They argued that his unique credibility had become a powerful force against violence. But law enforcement officials and victims' rights advocates pushed back, labeling him as a fraud, a man who'd never truly renounced his past. Prosecutors pointed out that Williams had refused to break the code of silence by sharing gang secrets with authorities. Deputy District Attorney John Monahan remarked, "What message does that send to young children when Mr. Williams, who supposedly has their attention, tells them, don't snitch, don't talk to police?" Williams' case had another layer of complexity due to a past connection with Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. The two had shared a background on Venice Beach in the 1970s. Schwarzenegger, then a rising bodybuilder, trained there, as did Williams, known in the fitness community before his criminal activities took over. According to Williams' biography, Schwarzenegger had once complimented him on his physique, even offering posing advice. Williams reportedly hoped this acquaintance would give Schwarzenegger insight into his character's change. But, despite his team's appeals and petitions to multiple courts, each was denied. Just the day before, the California Supreme Court had rejected his request, as did the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and finally, the U.S. Supreme Court. Throughout these last attempts, Williams maintained his innocence in the 1979 murders that led to his conviction. He had become an outspoken advocate against gang violence, offering books like Tuki's New Year's Resolution and Gangs and How to Avoid Them, and founding the Tookie Williams Foundation to help youth avoid gang involvement. Prominent supporters, including Jamie Foxx, who portrayed him in the movie Redemption, Snoop Dogg, and Danny Glover, rallied to his cause. In a final bid, Williams' lawyers presented statements from 3 new witnesses who might exonerate him. Nonetheless, Schwarzenegger ultimately denied clemency, suggesting any past connections were irrelevant. As the day continued, Stanley Williams met with his lawyers and 6 visitors.
We'll pay you cash up front for this, bro, because you have Roundup's title.
Give me 17 cents on Bitcoin. Think I'm ready to drive this thing. Not yet. Think I'm ready for the chainsaw. Not yet, not yet. I'm ready for the ship.
His final visitor was Fred Davis Jackson, a 67-year-old from Richmond, who had been visiting Williams since 1997. Williams, wearing his usual prison uniform, seemed in good spirits, despite the somber circumstances. "He's so big," Jackson recalled. "It's hard to get your arms around him." Under close watch, Williams had lost his appetite. A small tray with turkey was set before him, but he didn't touch it, drinking only water and milk. While Jackson admitted he didn't have an appetite either. "We said goodbye like we always do," Jackson remembered, noting how he told Williams, "I'll see you later," as if everything was normal. For Jackson, it wasn't just a goodbye. He knew Williams would be with him in spirit, no matter what happened. Only minutes before being moved to the death cell, with a guard nearby, Williams gave each visitor a private farewell, one by one. Soon after, it was time for Williams to move.
Mr. Williams, ready to move?
By 6 p.m., Stanley Williams was strip-searched, given a fresh set of clothes, and moved to a 45-square-foot death cell just steps from the death chamber, where a sergeant and 2 officers watched him closely. He spent the evening reading some of the 50 letters he'd received that day, from places as far as Italy and Israel, many from children who wrote that they were praying for him. A prison chaplain was available if he sought counsel, but Williams did not reach out. He also declined a sedative offered before the execution. Though he once said he didn't want anyone he knew to witness what he called the sick and perverted spectacle of his death, he later asked for 5 witnesses to attend. Meanwhile, the execution team began final preparations nearby, setting up needles, tubes, and chemicals in the prison's former gas chamber, now converted for lethal injections. Outside the prison gates, about 2,000 protesters gathered, hoping for a last-minute reprieve for Stanley Williams. Among them were celebrities, activists, and anti-death penalty advocates, all pleading for his life to be spared, yelling, "Tookie must live. Tookie doesn't deserve to die." Civil rights leader Jesse Jackson, who had advised Williams that day, criticized the decision to proceed with the execution, saying Governor Schwarzenegger had chosen revenge over redemption and was using Williams as a trophy in a flawed system. Jackson insisted that taking Williams' life wouldn't make anyone safer or more secure, calling it a political move for toughness. Inside the prison, Williams stayed composed, declining a final meal and choosing only small cartons of milk. At 9:30 p.m., Williams' lawyers made a last attempt to save him, filing an emergency petition that cited a fourth witness. This witness claimed that other inmates had tried to recruit him in a scheme to frame Williams, but Schwarzenegger quickly denied this final appeal. With that, the outcome was sealed, and Williams' fate was set. As midnight struck, Stanley Williams walked into the execution chamber, a semi-octagonal room bathed in a pale, cold light, with a padded gurney waiting at its center. He lay down calmly as guards secured him with straps, one keeping a steady hand on his shoulder. A nurse began the process of inserting the IV lines, but she struggled to find a vein in his left arm, accidentally drawing blood in the attempt. The insertion took nearly 20 minutes, with staff having particular difficulty with the left arm. During the preparation, witness Crystal Carrion from the Sacramento Bee described Williams as appearing restless. At one point, he asked, "You doing that right?" The staff continued to search for a vein. He looked toward his loved ones, 5 of whom were present, and mouthed something, though his words were inaudible to journalists. At 12:21 a.m., the first drug, 5 grams of sodium pentothal to render him unconscious, flowed into his veins. It was soon followed by 50 cc's of pancuronium bromide to halt his breathing, and 50 cc's of potassium chloride to stop his heart. Shortly afterward, he lay still, with the room full of witnesses silently watching his unmoving body. 3 of his supporters, including Barbara Becknell, a former Los Angeles Times reporter, cried out in anguish. The state of California just killed an innocent man. Hence, the final announcement was made.
The unofficial time of death for condemned inmate Stanley Williams is 12:35 p.m. We have an official time of death when the warden arrives to give a brief statement.
He had no last words. Stanley Tookie Williams' execution raises tough questions about justice, redemption, and the death penalty. Was he truly redeemed? Or did his past define him? What's your take? Did he deserve redemption or justice? Don't forget to like and attack that subscribe button to be part of the
This holiday, Verizon will turn your old or broken phone into a gift. Trade in any phone in any condition and get Google.
James Whitey Bulger sat wide awake in his cell at FTC Oklahoma City, awaiting yet another transfer in a long series of moves. It had been 5 days since his arrival at this temporary stopover after leaving Coleman 2 in Florida. The 89-year-old former mob boss of ex-FBI Most Wanted had been shuffled between prisons over the years, but for the last 4 had been held at Coleman 2, a federal prison in Central Florida known as something of a safe haven for high-risk inmates. Informants, former gang members, anyone who needed an added layer of protection. Even within Coleman, Bulger wielded influence. He had runners, fellow inmates willing to sneak him food from the chow hall and extra snacks from the commissary, staff members reported. But now, with little warning, his status had changed. Officially, Bulger's transfer was labeled as a health reclassification, with his paperwork marked 332, indicating his medical treatment completed. According to his records, he was now healthy enough for general population placement. But the classification raised eyebrows. At 89, Bulger was far from healthy, facing multiple chronic issues. Even more suspicious was that, despite paperwork indicating he'd spent time in a medical facility, there was no record of any recent treatment. Instead, Bulger had been in solitary confinement for the last 8 months, the result of a disciplinary issue. The incident stemmed from a verbal clash with a nurse whom he allegedly threatened with near day of February 23rd. For many in the prison system, Bulger was seen as a difficult case. While there was no concrete evidence, staff suspected that the real reason for his transfer was due to his disciplinary record. It seems they were playing hot potato with him, said Bob Hood, former chief of the Bureau of Prisons and former warden of the APX Florence Supermax. No one wanted to handle Bulger because is a high-profile inmate. Any incident involving him would make headlines worldwide. And a decision was made. Bulger would be transferred to USP Hazleton in West Virginia, a choice that immediately raised red flags. Known for its overcrowding, violence, and dangerously low staffing, Hazleton had earned the bleak nickname Misery Mountain. It was infamous as a high-risk place for informants and mob defectors. For someone like Bulger, a notorious mobster turned informant, it was hardly a safe destination. At 8 a.m., a prison official appeared at his cell door. The moment had come. The officer had laid out the procedure. Bulger listened in silence. This wasn't his first transfer, not by far. Over the years, he had been moved from prison to prison, a notorious name on the federal system's roster of dangerous inmates. As the guards entered his cell to prepare him, Bulger was ordered to strip down. It was routine, cold, invasive, methodical. They checked him head to toe, ensuring he carried no hidden contraband or weapons. It was all part of the ritual of a prison transfer. And so, with guards flanking him, Bulger was led out, beginning the last leg of a journey that would close the final chapter of a life marked by crime, betrayal, and ultimately, a fate that was now out of his hands. By 9 a.m., Bulger's preparations were complete. Dressed in standard prison garb, he was given his final instructions. The transport would leave shortly. There would be no dramatic goodbyes, just the clank of metal doors and the faint, echoing creak of his wheelchair rolling over cold concrete. In recent years, Bulger's health had sharply declined. The 89-year-old mobster suffered from heart disease, high blood pressure, and fading vision. Confined to a wheelchair, he could stand if needed, but he could no longer walk. Despite this, he sat quiet, resolute. He knew the drill, his silence matching the tense atmosphere that always accompanied the transfer of a high-profile figure. Guards who traveled with him later testified that he remained stone-faced throughout the journey. He barely acknowledged his surroundings, his eyes fixed somewhere beyond the here and now. No words were exchanged, no glances met. As the transport crossed state lines, the tension was palpable. Here was a man with a dangerous legacy, a man whose betrayal and long history of violent crime left him with enemies both inside and outside prison walls. And Hazleton, his final destination, was already buzzing with anticipation. Despite all attempts at secrecy, rumors of Bulger's arrival had leaked.
The key to great skin is exfoliating and moisturizing. Old Spice gives me both.
I was kind of playing his game when it came to my health.
Now it moved.
In preparation for the transfer, an email was sent out listing Bulger as a scheduled arrival in Hazleton on October 29th, 2018. Over 100 prison employees received this email, each a potential source of exposure. Word spread like wildfire. Staff were overheard discussing his arrival in the presence of inmates, almost casually, as though discussing this week's football game. They violated strict Bureau of Prisons protocols, carelessly ignoring the risks it posed to Bulger's safety. Investigators later found phone records and emails showing that inmates were tipped off about Bulger's arrival days before he even set foot in Hazleton. This gross error came under intense scrutiny from watchdog investigators, who discovered that prisoners had been openly talking about it on the yard. One investigator noted it became common knowledge. Everyone knew Whitey was coming. Some inmates were even placing bets on how long he'd last. After a grueling journey, Whitey Bulger was finally wheeled through the gates of Hazleton Prison just before 6:30. The whispers started almost immediately. The quiet rumor echoing through the prison halls. Whitey's here. The name alone sent a ripple of energy through the place. A new arrival. Not just any arrival. Word spread quickly, and within minutes, his presence was common knowledge. When it came time for his intake screening, nothing about Bulger's past was softened. His file laid it out plainly. Boston mobster involved in numerous murders and acts of his threat level marked as greatest. Every detail was there in black and white, yet when asked, Bulger told officials he wasn't affiliated with any gang and had no conflicts with other prisoners. He even insisted on one unusual request. He wanted to be housed with the general population, rejecting any notion that he needed special protection. Bulger's response to an intake was cool and calculated. When asked if if there was any reason not to place him in the general population, he simply said no. Yet, for all his confidence, the decision to allow Bulger into the general population at Hazleton was one that higher-ups would come to regret. By 9:53 p.m., James Whitey Bulger had been locked into his cell, and the entire cell block erupted in loud, mocking cheers. To many, this was a long-awaited moment. Inmates crowded around, hearing insults that echoed off the concrete walls, some of them cheering, calling him a rat. It was a raucous welcome, lasting nearly an hour. Despite Bulger's status as one of the most notorious criminals of his generation, his cell assignment was surprising. It was placed not with a dangerous organized crime figure, but with Felix Wilson, a 26-year-old from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Wilson, a small-time offender with no known gang ties, was serving a 30-month sentence for possessing an illegal firearm found during a routine stop on his bicycle. Interestingly, records reveal that Bulger was originally assigned to a cell with Paul J. De Coligero, a known associate of the De Coligero crew out of Massachusetts. Yet, for reasons unknown, within about an hour, Bulger's cell assignment was switched. Whether intentional or procedural change, it meant Bulger would have a different cellmate. The shift raised serious questions among prison staff. Several inmates in Bulger's compound were known associates of the Genovese crime family, and they carried long-standing grudges against informants like Bulger. Normally, criminal affiliations weren't considered an immediate threat when crime families shared a federal facility, but in Bulger's case, staff members were skeptical. They pointed out that, unlike many high-profile inmates, Bulger had manipulated the FBI for years, feeding information selectively, betraying rivals, and committing ruthless acts that cut him off from any typical code among organized crime groups. So why wasn't he placed in solitary confinement at Hazleton for his own protection? Several staff questioned the decision, but by then the decision was final, and Whitey Bulger was settled in with the general prison population, a situation that carried ominous undertones. On the morning of October 30th, just after 6 a.m., positioning him in his bunk with his head on a pillow, as if he were simply sleeping. 7 minutes after they entered, at 6:26 a.m., they left the cell, closing the door quietly behind them. After the 8 o'clock shift change, prison staff discovered the horrifying truth at 8:21 a.m. Whitey Bulger was found unresponsive and bleeding profusely, his injuries so severe that he was unrecognizable. Despite immediate efforts to save him, CPR, defibrillation, and an ambulance call, Bulger was pronounced dead at 9:04 a.m., marking him as the third inmate killed at Hazleton that year. Do you believe justice was served that day, or was the attack on a frail 89-year-old man nothing more than a cowardly act of vengeance? Don't forget to attack that subscribe button to be a part of the fastest growing crime community around.
Is the moment, 2 corrections officers are attacked. The attack left both officers bloody, one stabbed several times.
Inside the walls of America's toughest prisons, some names strike fear into everyone, from the guards to the inmates, and even people outside the prison. Known for their unmatched brutality and chilling reputation, these men have become legends of terror even behind bars. Their story is one of violence, power, and a life of crime that defies redemption. What makes them the most feared men in the entire U.S. prison system? Join us as we uncover the dark side of jail, exposing figures whose names are spoken in whispers out of fear. Fotio Freddy Gius. Growing up as a Greek-American, Fotios Gius couldn't become a made man in the Italian mafia because of his heritage. However, the respect he commanded could have easily made people mistake him for one. Freddy and his brother Ty started out as errand boys, but they soon found their role as enforcers in the underworld while working for Anthony Arilotta, a rising mobster. In 2003, Arilotta became a full-fledged member of the Genovese crime family's Springfield faction. With his promotion, the Gius brothers also climbed the ranks, earning their place through violence, including the execution of Arilotta's brother-in-law, Gary Westerman. That same year, Arthur Nigro, the acting boss of the family, ordered a hit on Adolfo Bruno, an aging gangster whose time was up. Freddy was chosen as the executioner. His careful planning and execution made him untouchable to the feds for a long time. When law enforcement couldn't bring Freddy down directly, they turned to his former boss, Arilotta, who became an informant for the feds. In 2011, the FBI charged Freddy for taking the lives of Westerman and Bruno, and for being the getaway driver in a failed hit on Bronx Union boss Frank Dodabo. The hit on Dodabo stemmed from a petty argument with Nigro over Tony Bennett concert tickets. Like any hardened criminal, Freddy wasn't afraid of prison time. In fact, he lived strictly by the mafia's code. No snitching and no harm to women. Staying true to his principles, he refused to cooperate with the authorities, even when facing a life sentence. He was sent to a federal prison in West Virginia, where he prepared to live out the rest of his days behind bars. Fast forward to October 29th, 2018. Fotios learned that a notorious figure, Boston gangster and FBI informant Whitey Bulger, had been transferred to the same prison as him. The next morning, chaos erupted when the 89-year-old Bulger was found lifeless in his cell. The once feared mob boss had been brutally attacked by inmates wielding a sock filled with a padlock and a shiv.
Tonight, the fellow inmate who allegedly used a padlock inside a sock.
His body showed the savagery of the assault. His eyes were nearly gouged out, and his tongue was almost severed.
Sources are telling CBS News that Bulger was beaten to a pulp, his eyes nearly gouged out.
Fotios Gius was immediately declared the prime suspect and was considered a threat to other prisoners, so he was transferred to the high-security ADX Florence facility in September 2023.
Gius was convicted largely on the testimony of gangsters turned prosecution witness.
6 years after the crime, Fotios was handed an additional 25 years in prison, logically making his total jail time a life sentence and an additional 25 years. The name Fotios Gius inspired fear in the criminal underworld, but he was still taking orders from others. Most gang leaders didn't see him as a real threat. That's not the case for the next man on our list. He built and led a drug empire with over 5,000 loyal followers, all under his control. Dairo Antonio Usuga David.
Shifting our focus to Colombia, where authorities have now captured Dairo Antonio Usuga, Colombia's most wanted drug lord.
Known as Otonio, the former Colombian drug lord, may be locked up in ADX Florence.
but his name still sends chills down the streets of Colombia. Born into deep poverty, Otoniel was drawn to violence early on. At just 18, he joined the People's Liberation Army, a guerrilla group fighting for the poor against the government. However, 2 years later, the group signed a peace deal, ending their violent struggle. Displeased and craving the chaos of war, the 20-year-old Otoniel joined the far-right paramilitary and drug trafficking group Autodefensas Unidas de Colombia, plunging deeper into a life of drugs and violence. Otoniel steadily climbed the ranks, and his ruthless, no-nonsense reputation caught the attention of top commanders and rival leaders. In 2005, Daniel Rendon Herrera, leader of the Los Urabeños drug cartel, recruited Otoniel and his brother Giovanni as his second-in-command. But 4 years later, Rendon was captured, leaving the Usuga brothers in charge. After Giovanni was ambushed during a police raid, Otoniel became the sole leader of the cartel, later renamed the Gulf Clan. Federal prosecutors in New York described him as the most violent and significant Colombian drug trafficker since Pablo Escobar, and he was recognized as the Gulf Clan's supreme leader. Otoniel expanded the cartel's operations, regularly shipping large amounts of cocaine to the United States.
Now. It's a two-horse race with 2 of you in each horse, the ass and the head. Horse 1 is going for the lawyers at City Hall. Horse 2 is on the business partner in Richmond. Sound good? Get moving.
Despite the efforts of
Horse 1, there's a ladder going up to the roof of the building opposite City Hall. You've got your long-range rifles, right? Want to minimize risk of failure, so you're taking your kills at exactly the same time. Coordinate your shots.
2015, a U.S.-backed task force of 1,200 anti-drug officers was created, armed with financing and advanced
Climb the ladder and get in position on the rooftop.
Otoniel eluded them. In one encounter, his men shot down a Colombian police helicopter, killing 10 officers. 2 years later, the U.S. State Department offered a $5 million reward for information leading to his capture. In response, Otoniel released a video on Facebook claiming he wanted to negotiate with law enforcement. When ignored, he ramped up his drug trafficking operations, becoming a near mythical figure in the criminal
Vanderloop and Sherwin are on a route in a black benefactor shafter. Do not shoot until they're out of the car.
In 2021, when they discovered Otoniel was hiding in the Urabá region of northwestern Colombia near the
Here they come. Wait till they're out and take the shots at the exact same time. 2 shots, 2 kills.
Delivering a specific location for his killer disease. On October 22nd, 2021,
Well done. Now, go down and get their documents, and if the police corner you, make sure you're killed, not captured.
A massive operation involving hundreds of troops, 20 helicopters, and 10 drones. They blocked rivers and roads to cut off escape routes while Navy ships patrolled the coast. The next day, Otoniel was captured in a remote mountainous area.
Most wanted drug trafficker in Colombia has been captured in a joint operation with the military.
At the time, he was Colombia's most wanted drug lord, with an $800,000 bounty on his head. Even while in captivity and his cartel weakened, Otoniel gave them orders to continue trafficking drugs. To everyone's surprise, in February 2022, during a hearing with the Special Jurisdiction for Peace, Swing Otoniel revealed that he had organized his surrender and collaborated with the Colombian army. However, police interrupted the session, accusing him were later stolen. Fearing Otoniel's influence in Colombia, authorities extradited him to the United States on May 4th, 2022, marking the end of his reign as one of Colombia's most infamous drug lords.
Colombia's most wanted drug lord and gang leader is
Climb the
behind
ladder,
bars.
get in position on the rooftop.
Pleaded guilty in New York to leading a violent cartel and paramilitary group, sealing his fate for decades in prison. He was sentenced to 45 years behind bars and was ordered to pay a $216 million fine. According to U.S. District Judge Dora Irizarry,
Holidays. And holiday trips.
Got a clear view of the steps? Vanderloop and Sherman are on route in a black benefactor Schafter. Do not shoot until they're out of the car.
Antonio trafficked nearly 100,000 kilograms of cocaine into the U.S. and was extraordinary among drug
Here they come. Wait till they're out and take the shots at the exact same time. 2 shots, 2 kills.
Given his track record of ordering the brutal hit on Colombian police officers, soldiers, and civilians, the feds could not risk possibly influencing certain actions on American soil. So the court decreed that he is to serve his sentence at ADX Florence. While Antonio is one of the most powerful drug lords, even he can't match the kingpin who treated prison like a revolving door, coming and going whenever he pleased. This list wouldn't be complete without him.
Was the world's most wanted drug trafficker. For decades, the ruthless El Chapo Guzman destroyed millions of lives and reaped billions of dollars.
The name Joaquin Archivaldo Guzman Loera might not sound familiar, but mention El Chapo.
The other team just cleaned up at Popov's house. Bring the deposition
known
back
by
in.
the nickname El Chapo, Spanish for Shorty, gained an outsized reputation.
This former Mexican drug lord and leader of the Sinaloa cartel is believed to be responsible for the deaths of over 34,000 people. Born into a poor family in Sinaloa, to support the family, introduced young Guzman to the world of growing marijuana for local dealers. By the late 1970s, Guzman had learned the trade.
Sounds like the locals have given up their pursuit. Good work, team.
Palma Salazar, a rising drug lord, helping map out drug routes through Sinaloa and into the U.S. Later, he worked for Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, one of Mexico's top kingpins in the 1980s. But with all his knowledge and ambition, Guzman wasn't content to work under someone else. So when Felix was arrested in 1988, Guzman started his own cartel. Under Guzman's leadership, the Sinaloa cartel gained immense power and wealth. Forbes even ranked him as one of the most powerful people in the world from 2009 to 2013, while the DEA compared his influence and fortune to Pablo Escobar's.
He earned that status by putting more narcotics on American streets than anyone in history.
As the leader of the cartel, Guzman believed there were no limits to how much he could move and where he could sell them. He oversaw the production and trafficking of massive amounts of cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin, smuggling them into the US and Europe, the world's biggest drug markets. El Chapo was feared for his extreme violence toward his enemies, but what made him truly dangerous was his ability to move vast amounts of drugs and escape the authorities time and time again. Guzman was first caught in 1993 in Guatemala and sent to prison in Mexico for drug trafficking and murder.
He used money, violence, and gee-whiz escapes worthy of a James Bond villain to avoid capture.
But in 2001, he used bribes to escape from a high-security prison.
He bribed his way out of a Mexican prison in 2001.
What made him so hard to catch and different from other drug dealers was his use of tunnels. El Chapo became famous for building secret passageways under the border that allowed him to smuggle tons of drugs into the U.S.
At one point, authorities believed there were close to 200 functioning tunnels along the U.S.-Mexico border.
In 1990, federal agents found one of his tunnels in Douglas, Arizona. The tunnel was 300 feet long and included lights, electricity, and even a hydraulic lift under the floor of a safe house. It was so advanced that agents compared it to something from a James Bond movie.
The bathtub was equipped with a hydraulic lift. It's been turned off.
The tunnels were expensive and took months to build, but they were highly effective. They were big enough to carry multiple tons of drugs at a time and many were dug so deep that ground radar couldn't detect them. The entrances were often hidden in plain sight, like one that started beneath a bathroom floor. El Chapo didn't only use tunnels for smuggling. In 2014, after being arrested, he escaped from a high-security prison by crawling through a tunnel hidden beneath his bathtub.
Joaquin Guzman, known as El Chapo, staged a brazen escape from this Mexican prison.
Authorities tracked him down days later in Mazatlan, but he quickly escaped again through an even bigger tunnel, almost a mile long, leading to a nearby farmhouse. This time, he used a motorcycle to travel through the tunnel in under 10 minutes. Despite the celebrations in Sinaloa after his escape, El Chapo's freedom didn't last long. A few months later, he was captured again after a fierce gunfight in Los Mochis, Sinaloa, though he managed to escape once more, this time through a tunnel hidden behind a mirror. Authorities caught him shortly after he tried to flee through a manhole. He was extradited to the US and is now facing time in ADX Florence. The authorities take his security so seriously that they even shut down the Brooklyn Bridge when moving him between his jail cell and the courthouse. Even while behind bars, El Chapo still pulls strings. In 2018, 2 more tunnels were found on the US-Mexico border, one connected to the back of an old KFC in Arizona, and the other in California, where authorities discovered an unfinished tunnel with solar-powered electricity and ventilation systems. While El Chapo's reign left a trail of destruction, he wasn't the type to get his hands dirty in the bloodbaths. The next gang leader on our list, he made chaos his personal signature. Carboni Savage. Raised in North Philadelphia, a former Frankfurt High student found his way into boxing at the Front Street Gym, where he had one professional match and won. But the real fight in his life wasn't in the ring. It was on the streets. After losing his father to cancer at just 13, he turned to the drug trade in Hunting Park. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, he had risen to control the distribution of massive amounts of cocaine across Philadelphia. Federal authorities claimed he wasn't just a dealer, but a ruthless enforcer. Involved a parking dispute when Kenneth Lasseter. The case fell apart when the lead witness, Tibius Flowers, was found unalive, allegedly on his orders. It wouldn't be the last time witnesses or rivals were silenced. Over the years, he orchestrated the hits on competitors like Carlton Brown and at least 5 others, wielding intimidation even from behind bars. He reportedly threatened to end the lives of the children of those who dared testify.
Here we go. Okay, you're splitting into 2 teams. Transporter, officer, you're the ground team. To start with, you'll collect our bus from the junkyard at Sandy Shores. Demolitions, you're the perimeter team. Hijacking the inbound Bolingbroke transport. Pilots going to LSIA. And me, I'm gonna put up some smoke in a nice crowded public place.
Money laundering and witness intimidation. He received a 30-year sentence and was sent to a federal prison.
Ground team, when you get to the bus, the officer's driving, the transporter's in the back playing inmate. Perimeter team do their job. You'll go in place of the scheduled bus. No one will know the difference. This operation's burnt if you attract police attention, so keep your heads down. Got it? Okay, get to work.
Authorities believed her death wasn't linked to Savage's crimes, but the shooter's method bore a resemblance to Savage's way of handling enemies by taking out their family. In October 2004, Eugene Twin Coleman, a former associate in Savage's drug operation, found himself facing legal trouble. Arrested and placed in federal custody for the murder of his friend, 26-year-old Tyrone Tolliver from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Coleman became a target himself. To save himself, he agreed to testify against Savage in a drug trial, a decision that would prove critical in convicting Savage. Fearing retaliation, federal agents warned Coleman's 54-year-old mother, Marcella, to move to a safer location. Marcella, a prison guard at Warren Fromwell Correctional Facility, believed she could protect herself and refused to leave her North Philadelphia home. Savage, detained at FDC Philadelphia, planned a chilling act of revenge. Early in the morning on October 9th, 2004.
And we tie this end to your tooth. So my 6-year-old just got her first wiggly tooth.
That's exciting. You want to reassure them that this is normal.
Style can be defined in so many different ways. Tilly's Discover Your Style.
Marcella's row house was firebombed. The flames started in the living room and quickly engulfed the entire house, leaving no survivors. The devastating attack became the deadliest mass killing in Philadelphia since 2000. Among the 6 lives lost were Marcella, her 15-month-old grandson Demir Jenkins, 3 children, 10-year-old Paja Nash, 12-year-old Taj Borchea, and 15-year-old Sean Rodriguez, and Marcella's cousin, 34-year-old Tamika Nash. Even the family's picture didn't escape the inferno. While attending the funeral of his relatives, Eugene Coleman became aware of Savage's callous words, captured by a hidden recording device in his prison cell. They should stop off and get him some barbecue sauce. Pour it on them burnt bitches. Savage didn't act alone. His sister, Kidada Savage, played a key role in the plot. She enlisted Lamont Lewis, a hitman, to carry out the arson. Lewis, who had previously been cleared of taking out a rival dealer, brought his cousin, Robert B. J. Merritt Jr. into the plan.
Get to it.
Kidada
As long as they think you're an inmate in a guard, they shouldn't raise the alarm.
Carried out the attack, throwing gasoline cans into the home to ignite the blaze. Coleman later revealed that another drug dealer, Dawood Kulbey, had warned him that Savage wanted his family dead. But by then, the damage was done, and the legacy of violence surrounding Savage had reached new, horrifying depths. During his trial, Savage was held in custody at FDC Philadelphia, where prosecutors pushed for the ultimate punishment, not just for him, but also for his associates. By May 2013,
So much for that. The facility's on alert. You move for Rishkovsky.
Savage was found guilty of 17 charges, including 12 crimes against lives tied to his criminal empire.
and see some stairs in front of you.
Handed down Savage's sentence, 13 death penalties.
I'm gonna give you instructions. Try and get you to the target, taking you around the worst of the security.
12 for the fatalities tied to racketeering, including the infamous 2004 firebombing that claimed 6 lives. He was also found guilty of orchestrating several other attacks in Philadelphia, including the
collaborate and nearly get a ship for the pleasure.
Mansour
Just give me
Abdullah in 2000, Carlton Brown in 2001,
There are some screws
Barry
I hope
Parker
we run
in
into.
2003,
Let's go!
Tyrone Tolliver in 2003, and Tibius Flowers in 2004. Given how much chaos he caused from his former prison cell, the court ordered that he serve his sentence at ADX Florence. The ADX Florence is one of the most secure prisons in the world.
The paycheck is in your hands, transporter. Protect Reshkovsky. Officer, you're clearing a path for the transporter and Reshkovsky. Get them out alive. This is how it's gonna work. You're gonna clear the area, then Reshkovsky will move up. Clear and move. Clear and move. We need him out in one piece.
The Aryan Brotherhood was small
Listen up.
despite their small size.
Okay, clear and move.
50 members, they were highly selective, making the group tightly bonded and highly secretive. The Aryan Brotherhood was known as the most violent prison gang. Under the Baron's leadership, he always made sure that when they targeted someone, they made sure the job was done thoroughly, inflicting fatal injuries on other victims dozens of times.
Clear the area, and Reshkovsky will advance.
Beyond brutal attacks. The gang sold drugs, extorted other white
There's a
inmates,
small gap
and
between
even
the two buildings to your west. That's your exit into the northern
connections to
yard.
major organized crime groups.
We are going to incentivize this. We need Reshkovsky out of the country quickly and in good health. The better you do those things, the better you're paid.
This gang was above the law. Their killings were not just violent, but were done openly to intimidate escalated further. A group of a dozen black inmates ambushed 6 white inmates in the recreation yard. When word of the attack reached Aryan Brotherhood leaders Barry Mills and Tyler Bingham at a supermax prison in Florence, Colorado, they decided it was time for a full-scale war. A coded message called Kite was sent through the prison system. While the message appeared innocent, containing family updates, it concealed a call to arms written in invisible ink. War with DC Blacks. To ensure the message couldn't be misunderstood, Mills encoded it in multiple ways, including a cipher, prison slang, and invisible ink made from urine. Once the orders reached Lewisburg, the Aryan Brotherhood launched a series of brutal attacks. They struck swiftly, using lookouts to avoid detection, while their enforcers carried out the killings. In one particularly vicious act, Alan Benton, a senior Brotherhood member, used a 12-inch weapon to stab Abdul Salam, the leader of the DC Blacks. Salam were taken out, and 3 others were seriously injured. After the bloodshed, Benton reportedly spent contemplating his actions. He eventually chose to cooperate with federal authorities, which sparked a wave of betrayal within the Brotherhood. Members began flipping on the gang. By March 2006, federal authorities launched a massive crackdown on the Aryan Brotherhood. 4 key members, Barry Mills, Tyler Bingham, and Christopher Gibson, faced charges ranging from racketeering, drug trafficking, to conspiracy and murder. The government pushed for the death penalty against Mills and Bingham, arguing they posed a threat to inmates, guards, and society at large. Defense lawyers countered that witnesses were unreliable and incentivized by sentences. After 6 months, all 4 were found guilty. While Mills and Bingham avoided the death penalty due to a hung jury, they were sentenced to life without parole and returned to a DX Florence, where they remain to this day. Just like Barry formed an organization that moved as a united force, the next criminal didn't just lead a gang, they built a cult, and they didn't just follow him, they worshipped him. Luis Felipe. This plane out of there. Demolitions rose to prominence as the leader of the Latin Kings. You need to evade the authorities before you bail out of there. Run evasive maneuvers, get clear, then head toward the drop zone. This all goes to plan. You rendezvous on the beach in the Palomino Islands. And remember, Reshkovsky is paying you to get him out. I'm just a friendly stranger you know very little about.
Help me!
Luis Felipe, known as King Blood, was from Havana, Cuba. Raised by his mother and never knew his father.
Felipe's early years were shaped by hardship. By his late teens, he had landed in prison in Cuba, setting the stage for a turbulent life. In 1980, Fidel Castro expelled thousands of Cubans deemed undesirable from the island, forcing Felipe to leave his homeland. Along with 125 others, he was sent to Miami during the Mariel boat lift, feeling adrift and uncertain of his survival. By the early 1980s, Felipe found himself in Chicago, where he worked at Arlington Park, among the city's migrant community. It was here that he discovered the Latin Kings, a gang that offered him a sense of belonging and purpose. The gang, deeply rooted in discipline and a shared history, provided Felipe with an identity and a creed to follow. Their principles, known as the 5 points of the crown, honor, obedience, sacrifice, righteousness, and love, formed the foundation of their beliefs. The Latin Kings had their own rituals, laws, and practices that set them apart from the world outside. Their loyalty to one another was symbolized by a unique salute and the phrase Amor de Rey or King Love, which expressed
At Olive Garden, more is merry. From a first course that never ends. I have been using the GLP-1 injections through hers. I have lost 30.
Their commitment to the group and to each other. this world, Felipe thrived. His charisma and uncompromising nature earned him respect and fear, and he was eventually given the name King Blood. Under his leadership, the gang operated with strict discipline, following rules rooted in a belief system they called Kingism. This philosophy embraced any faith or religion that helped individuals grow and align with the gang's values. King Blood's rise, however, was not without violence. Felipe became deeply entrenched in the gang lifestyle, engaging in shootings
I've been impressed by your professionalism. I'm not going to go into it, but Rashkovsky's part of something bigger. Way bigger. I need to make a few more inquiries and we'll be ready to go on a job that requires your particular skill set. Don't retire on me just yet.
Measures against anyone he considered an enemy, but the law had caught up with him, and the feds planned on clipping his influence through prison time. However, in the heart of upstate New York, Felipe carved out a new empire that extended beyond prison walls. His influence spread rapidly through the New York State prison system and soon reached the streets of Manhattan, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. During an era when crack cocaine fueled gang wars and street violence, Felipe's organization stood out. They weren't focused on selling drugs, but they claimed territory where drugs were traded, asserting dominance over areas controlled by dealers. Felipe's hold on his group was absolute. In this volatile environment, he became the ultimate decision maker. No issue, big or small, escaped his attention. His directives reached far beyond prison, influencing gang activities across neighborhoods. By 1994, New York City was gripped by a chilling series of brutal attacks targeting young Latin men. Victims were found mutilated, including a headless torso discarded in a rug and a body stripped of tattoos left on a rooftop. While authorities in the city scrambled for answers, investigators in the upstate prison system uncovered the trail leading back to Felipe. From his cell, he authored detailed instructions, often disguised as letters, addressing everything from education and social issues to violent punishments. These writings revealed his power over life and death within the gang, ordering hits on anyone deemed a traitor. On June 21st, 1994, Felipe, already incarcerated, faced new charges of taking human life, attempting to take people's lives, and conspiracy to commit brutal attacks. Despite his physical confinement, he orchestrated his empire through written communications, demonstrating a chilling level of control. The legal system turned to the RICO Act, legislation designed to dismantle organized crime networks. Though traditionally used against the mafia and other entrenched criminal organizations, this marked the first time it was employed to prosecute a street gang. Felipe's leadership of the Latin Kings was now squarely in the crosshairs, as prosecutors sought to prove the group operated as a criminal enterprise under his command. When the trial began, Luis Felipe stood as the lone Latin king, unwilling to accept a plea deal. Unlike his co-defendants, he faced the courtroom alone, but his presence was far from solitary. Every day, the gallery was packed with members of the Latin Kings, their loyalty on full display. As Felipe entered, dozens of followers stood in unison, saluted with the group's signature phrase, and then sat down. The tension in the courtroom reached its peak when the verdict was delivered. Felipe was found guilty on all 18 charges against him. On February 14th, 1997, Luis Felipe received his sentence: life imprisonment without parole, to be served in solitary confinement. The judgment was harsh, isolating him in Chicago's most infamous gang leaders, left a lasting mark on the city's criminal history. Born on November 30th, 1950, in Jackson, Mississippi, Hoover moved to Chicago with his family at the age of 4. Growing up on the city's south side, he became involved in gang activity as a young teenager, joining a group called the Supreme Gangsters at just 12 years old. Hoover's charisma and leadership skills set him apart, and by age 15, he had taken control of the gang. Over time, he allied with rival factions formidable gangs in Chicago, dominating the drug trade on the south side and generating profits exceeding $1,000 daily. Hoover's influence extended across the city, but his activities eventually caught up with him. In 1973, he was sentenced to 150 to 200 years in prison for orchestrating the hit on a gang member, William Young. Logically crossed him. Many believed Hoover's imprisonment would spell the end of his reign, but he continued to lead and expand his organization from behind bars. Imprisoned at the maximum security Stateville Correctional Center, Hoover quickly adapted, establishing himself as a dominant force within the prison. He offered protection to other inmates, discouraged violence, and even earned praise from prison staff for reducing conflicts within the facility. While his public image began to shift toward that of a reformed figure, Hoover secretly continued recruiting inmates into the gangster disciples and maintained communication with gang members on the outside. Hoover's strategy wasn't limited to the prison walls. He rebranded the gangster disciples as Growth and Development, presenting it as a legitimate organization focused on community empowerment. Under this new name, the group launched voter registration initiatives, opened a music label that donated to charitable causes, and supported education and social programs. Growth and Development even organized peaceful protests and encouraged members to run for public office. Despite these outward reforms, the organization remained heavily involved in the drug trade, expanding its operations to multiple states with over 30,000 people working for him and earning more than $100 million annually. In the mid-1990s, authorities launched a 5-year investigation known as Operation Headache to dismantle the gangster disciples. Using wiretaps, informants, and raids, investigators uncovered evidence that Growth and Development charitable efforts were a front for laundering drug money. In 1995, a massive operation involving over 250 officers resulted in the arrest of Hoover and 21 other gang members. 2 years later, Hoover was convicted of drug conspiracy charges and sentenced to 6 life terms. In addition to his previous sentence, he was transferred to ATX Florence, a supermax prison in Colorado where he remains today. Demonstrates genuine reform. High-profile advocates, including rapper Kanye West, have campaigned for his release, with West and fellow artist Drake even hosting a freelance Hoover benefit concert in 2021. However, many remain skeptical of Hoover's transformation, viewing him as one of Illinois' most dangerous criminals. In recent years, Hoover has publicly renounced his gang affiliations, stating that he is no longer the man who once led the gangster disciples. Still, opinions about his legacy remain deeply divided, with some seeing him as a symbol of redemption and others as a cautionary tale of unchecked power. And that's all for today.
In this world, there is real evil.
haunted. They must choose between following or giving into their fear. To win, they must rely on their faith and an exorcist to stop the destruction of their family from the haunting. This is the story of a family that believes they were haunted by an evil entity. Karen Parker's oldest child, Paul, was diagnosed with cancer. He was only 14 years old. Doctors gave Paul 6 months to live, unless radical treatments put his cancer in remission. Karen was devastated.
I didn't think he was going to survive the treatments. As I looked at Paul and watched him diminish in size and in strength, I began to realize that I could lose him.
What's happening?
And that wasn't an option.
The Parker family lived in upstate New York. But Paul's treatments required him to see specialists at a Connecticut hospital 300 miles away. The 8-hour daily round-trip commutes made it impossible for Karen to take care of her family. And the long hours on the road were taking a toll on Paul.
I decided we had to make some changes. And I knew the best option was to get him closer to his doctors. I discussed it with my husband and he agreed he could transfer to a company in Connecticut.
Oh, crap! I'm hearing all about it on the police center.
I began to do some work
before you come to me.
kitchen was just big enough to cook for the large family. The more she saw of the house, the more she envisioned her family living there.
There are some downstairs keeping his bed.
Most importantly, it was only minutes from the hospital where Paul was being treated for cancer.
I looked around the house. It had a very large room because it was perfect.
Do you know where the stairs to the basement are?
Oh, it's right there.
She hoped the basement could be converted into additional bedrooms for Holt's sons.
I thought that it was going to be nice when they finished it. I thought it would be great for the boys to share downstairs.
When Karen contacted the home's property manager, she was surprised to find the rent was within her budget.
Another morning to savor the crunchy nooks and cranny splendor of a Thomas's English muffin.
Tom, which is a nook and which is a cranny?
That's a nook, cranny, cranny, nook, cranny. I mean, they should be teaching this at school. Huzzah! A toast to breakfast.
I only get one childhood.
Social media is taking it away from me. It makes us worry more. I want my childhood back. Protect their childhood.
Kids use phones and walk.
Sex. The best gifts.
The house seemed almost too good to be true.
Everyone was crazy about the idea of getting Paul close to the hospital and his doctor. It was the most important overriding thought in the entire family. So they were happy to be moving to Connecticut.
Karen and her husband Ed moved a few things into their home. It was Ed's first look at the place.
Living room. Dining room, kitchen. 2 bedrooms upstairs. A closet in here. Really bright.
Maybe a felony murder. Okay.
Ed liked what he saw.
That's perfect. I'll just leave it there. Now,
What do you think?
if you're asked, under interrogation, I wasn't here. Unless it's Trevor who's interrogating, in which case I was very much here.
Karen was eager to inspect the basement now that it was clean. There was at least one room in the back she hadn't seen. The room held clues to the home's past.
No, stop.
it? So? Charles?
At that point, I realized that it was a funeral home. And we cannot live in this house. Thought, how can we live in this place? How can I bring my children into this house? What kind of an environment is this going to be if they see this?
He told her even if it had been a funeral home, no one had died there. The couple now realized why the rent was so inexpensive. They had no choice but to move in.
We've used every dime of money that we had saved on Paul's illness and on renting this house and moving down here. We had no place else to go.
Karen. They would hide the home's morbid past from their children.
My precious Paul, as sick as he was, should not be exposed to these things. Because he was just a child. And I didn't want him to think about his own mortality or even the possibility of his death.
But as they passed the cemetery next to their new home, Karen realized that was going to be very difficult. hospital treating his son with cancer. Karen Parker. They were determined to hide their home's past from their children. Then something happened that made that impossible.
The mop water was blood red. I mean, it was a deep, big red. It made my skin crawl.
What's wrong with this floor?
I started getting nervous. I was ruining the floor.
As Paul descended the basement stairs for the first time, he felt an icy chill in the air. He believed he was being watched by someone.
Mom, we need to leave this place.
What? He was scared to death.
I want to go home.
He told me of a voice that called him by name. And I thought this was an inner voice. I didn't believe he was really hearing someone call his name. And I'm looking at my boy, my sick boy, thinking, he is so close to death that he can sense that this was a funeral home. I didn't know what to think.
In difficult times, the Parker family often turned to the Catholic Church for spiritual guidance.
I took Paul to the priest that had married my husband and myself and asked him to do a healing on Paul.
Show your mercy.
Well, he put his hands on him and he prayed.
We ask this through our Lord Jesus, who healed the
A short time later, Paul's siblings moved into the house, including his sister Connie and his
You have to get a tour. There's a lot of room.
Bobby was Paul's discovered that
within 10 minutes of me coming in the house, my brother told me it was a funeral home, and my brother actually had me lay down on the gurney in the morgue without telling me what it was. It did freak me out real bad, but I didn't want to run because of my older brother. You know, I had to look tough around my older brother. It was pretty creepy. It scared me pretty bad.
Better than our clients.
The difference is stark. My son Spencer was killed in a motorcycle accident. It broke my heart into a million pieces. This young driver was only 17 years old with no license, and his mother said that it was my son's fault. I was so devastated. My life changed forever. When I needed him the most, Daniel Starr was there for me.
The difference is stark.
It's time to find your adventure. Hit the open road and journey to Poland.
Karen relied on her faith to give her strength while she waited for her husband's transfer from New York. Although Ed would be home on weekends, she still had to run this strange new house alone. And as the days went on,
you turn on that, yep, and you say, I'm gonna go over there and talk, and you say, I'll talk with you. There's a woman in my room.
She told me that there was a woman looking at her in her bedroom. What I noticed the most was she grabbed hold of me and wrapped a hold of me, and as I touched her, she was trembling all over. And I mean trembling. And she wasn't a skittish child, so it was very unusual to feel her trembling.
There's something there.
Karen's inspection of the room showed nothing out of the ordinary.
Connie, there's nothing here. Look, sweetie, look. Can you
Yes, there is, Mama. Mama, there's something. Mama. There's something. Let's disappear from it, Mama.
This is just your brother's evidence. Come on, go downstairs and play.
I know that Paul told the other kids that it was a funeral home because that's what brothers and sisters do. They confide in one another. And it really made me angry. I thought for sure the boys were playing tricks on her.
Stop it. Hey, I just came from your sister who is scared to death because she thinks she saw a ghost. Stop playing tricks on her. She is too young.
I swear I didn't tell her anything.
But you told me.
Both of you, cut it out.
Mom.
Karen was feeling the stress of running the household alone. Her only peace came at night when the kids were in bed. But in the basement, her sons weren't getting much sleep.
You could see something moving around, and we thought it was shadows at first. But then we got to watching what was going on in there, and it was more like someone's walking around in there. And that's what my brother Paul told me. There was weird things that happened in the house.
of ghostly apparitions. By morning, the boys had moved out of their basement bedroom and were
What are you two doing in here? Last night?
Yeah.
How did he get in?
I don't know. He was just there walking around the lab.
Honest?
Yeah, we both saw him.
Well, I'm gonna start charging rent if he hangs around.
He was there. Honest.
There was a man in the basement.
He was there. He was there.
Karen expected things to improve when her husband Ed arrived to spend the weekend. He'd convinced the boys they had nothing to be afraid of.
Do me a favor. Why don't you go downstairs and get some bread out of the freezer so we can have some toast, okay?
Downstairs?
My family could go through a lot of food in a week, so I had to buy large quantities and freeze it. dishes weren't there.
Bobby dreaded going into the old morgue.
I knew there was something definitely going on in the house because you'd see things and you'd hear things.
Mom, I just heard a voice down in the basement calling for Pop.
Where's the bread?
In the freezer.
I just thought the house was
Ron's about to start talking to you. Ron! Time to work, you lazy schlub. Hold on.
I think I was going crazy. I didn't think my brother was going crazy. I thought it was just something in the house.
Get over to the recycling center on Alta Street in Chamberlain Hills.
Scared to death.
Being a trash collector's a good job, you know. Starts nice and early when you're probably still up and wired enough to work. No one's gonna search you when you're carrying around a dripping bag of mystery meat. And, you know, people throw out the weirdest things. Like Ron here. He got thrown out by his wife. Left in the street. And I picked him up and found a use for him. Well, maybe I found a use for him before he got thrown out, and that was part of the reason it happened. She's a drug prohibitionist, Ron. She's on the wrong side of history, but let's not sweat the details.
Of course, I didn't hear
Get us those bags, all right?
Calling from the freezer.
Tell him, Ron. Oh, yeah. So the trash trucks get used by the Vagos for their collection runs.
Tease
The
Bobby
security
about
guards
it.
are their people. So yeah, take them out before you take the truck, all right? It's gonna be quite a few of them, you know, so get ready for a fight.
Arrived later that morning to spend the weekend. With the kids already gossiping about the home's past, Ed and Karen acknowledged they were living in a former funeral home. But they said it was no reason for the house to be haunted.
It's just a house. It was a house before. It was a funeral home. It's just a house now. That's all.
I saw
fill their heads with ghost stories.
Thank you. I got your medication. How you feeling?
I did look up to my brother. He was everything I wanted to be. You know, before he got sick, he was divorced. Everything. He was going. And then after he got sick, it put a lot of stress on my family.
Paul's daily cancer treatments slowly drained the family's resources.
See things, and he'd tell mom and dad, and they say that it was his illness, so he wasn't really seeing anything. It was part of a reaction to his medication.
His mother thought his mental health was deteriorating.
Believe him, so I wasn't frightened. I was scared for him. I was concerned about his health.
She chose to ignore subtle signs that something evil was lurking in the house.
I noticed these crucifixes were disappearing. Never quite knew where they went.
I think I'm ready to drive this thing.
Not yet.
I think I'm ready for the chainsaw. Not yet, not yet. I'm ready for the sack.
At night, Parker children reported seeing ghostly apparitions in the house they knew was a funeral. They were frustrated when their parents didn't believe them. Struggled to contain their fears.
It looked like they were looking through papers. They were picking objects up, putting objects down, talking amongst each other, and it sounded like four guys whispering, but you could still hear them talking. We didn't say anything.
For Ed and Karen, the middle of the night disturbed.
Described these men as being in dark clothes or something like that. I went from room to room looking for these men.
No way.
Ed was determined to prove no one could have gotten inside their house.
So they checked the doors, they checked the windows, and everything was locked up tighter than a drum. There was no way anybody could have gotten the house. It was just a dream.
There were no tracks in the snow or signs that anyone had been near the house.
something happened to one of us, we tell everyone because we need someone to hear us, to let us know we weren't crazy. So we talk amongst ourselves, and that way you don't feel like you're crazy because it's not just happening to you. That's where we got our strength from, is each other, because our parents didn't believe us.
Convinced Paul's medication was the cause of his hallucinations, and that he was influencing the younger children to see things as well.
The next office visit I had with his oncologist, I asked him about it. He said the chance of him having hallucinations or delusions with the medication he was on.
It's not a psychiatric job.
Was too much for Karen and Ed to bear.
At that point, him and I both were working all the hours we possibly could, and the medical bills is staggering. I mean, there was 2-inch stack every day in the mail.
Ed was stunned by the latest electric bill. He quickly isolated the cause. The children were keeping all of their lights on when they slept at night.
Dad, please don't do this. Light, put them away. Dad, please. I don't want to see them anymore, Dad.
Paul's ghost stories caused Ed and Karen to lose sleep. Now they were costing the family money it didn't have. Ed removed all but one of the light bulbs. The lights that used to bring them relief now brought them new horror.
My sister Connie, and she was flipping the light switch on and off. The lights were coming on and off, even though there was no bulbs in it. And then she ran up the stairs, and I ran up after her. She didn't just come down to your room. She's been in there for 2 or 3 hours. And I didn't believe my mother, of course. So I walked back there and I looked. She was sound asleep in her bed. What really scared me was because it took the form of someone in my family. And it was really unnerving.
Paul quit trying to convince his parents that something diabolical was lurking in the house. He decided to confront the voice that haunted chilling cold of a Connecticut winter, cancer victim Paul Parker felt isolated from his own family. His parents refused to believe he was being tormented by evil